Against all odds, those words carry a weight we all recognize, deep in our bones. Yet we rarely stop to fully appreciate their meaning until we are standing at the edge of a challenge that seems insurmountable. Life is a series of trials, some expected, others that arrive without warning, challenging us in ways we never imagined. The human spirit, though, has a remarkable way of responding. It rises, it stretches, it fights back, even when every external factor seems to conspire against success. It is in these moments, these crucibles of pressure and uncertainty, that our true character is revealed, that our capacity for resilience, creativity, and courage is tested. And it is here, precisely here, that ordinary people accomplish extraordinary feats. Consider the young woman who grows up in a neighborhood where opportunities are scarce, resources are limited, mentors are few. Each day presents obstacles, systemic inequities, limited access to education, a social environment that whispers, "You won't make it." Yet she persists. She studies late into the night, under the dim light of a single lamp. She seeks out teachers who see potential where others see risk. She finds a community online that encourages her dreams. Years later, she becomes a leader in her field, guiding others through challenges that mirror her own early struggles. Her story is not unique, though it is remarkable. Around the globe, countless individuals rise against circumstances that seem immovable, refusing to let the odds define their potential. The concept of odds is fascinating. In statistics, odds represent probability, a measure of likelihood based on known factors. In life, however, odds are often perception, shaped by limitations, by fear, by assumptions. We look at a challenge and assume it is insurmountable because of what we know or because of what others have told us. We see the stories of failure and let them cast shadows over the possibility of success. But the reality is, the human experience is not governed by mere probability. It is shaped by will, by strategy, by the choices we make in the face of adversity. When we analyze great achievements, we realize that what appears improbable often becomes possible through persistence, adaptation, and relentless focus on what can be controlled. History is rich with examples. Take Thomas Edison, whose laboratory smelled of smoke and disappointment far more often than it did of invention. Thousands of failed experiments did not deter him. Each failure was a lesson, a step closer to a breakthrough. He faced odds that would have crushed most time, yet he persisted. Or consider Rosa Parks, who in a single act of defiance stood not only against an unjust law, but against a culture that had normalized oppression. She faced overwhelming societal odds and yet catalyzed a movement that transformed a nation. These examples are often romanticized, yet they illustrate a vital truth. Odds matter, but courage, preparation, and persistence matter far more. Scientific research on resilience has shed light on how humans navigate extreme challenges. Psychologists identify traits such as grit, emotional intelligence, and a growth mindset as critical factors. Grit, the tendency to maintain effort over long periods despite setbacks, is a predictor of achievement across fields. Emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, understand, and manage emotions in oneself and others, allows people to navigate social challenges and build supportive networks. A growth mindset, the belief that abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work, transforms obstacles into opportunities for learning. Beyond psychology, there is a neurological basis for resilience. The brain is remarkably plastic, capable of forming new connections and adapting even in the face of trauma. Stress when managed, can be a catalyst for growth, sharpening focus, motivating action. Even when odds appear against us, our capacity to adapt, to respond, is far greater than we assume. Yet understanding resilience is one thing. Applying it is another. Overcoming odds requires strategy. It requires clarity about what is within our control and what is not. It requires prioritization, focus, relentless action on the steps that compound into success. Small wins matter. They create momentum. They build confidence. They demonstrate that progress is possible, even when the ultimate goal seems distant. Every action, every decision, every choice matters. A young athlete training for a competition might face physical limits, scarce resources, stiff competition. By breaking the process into incremental steps, strength training, skill refinement, mental preparation, she increases her probability of success. She leverages what she can control and refuses to be paralyzed by factors she cannot. This principle applies in every domain: business, relationships, education, health, personal growth. Equally important is the environment we choose to cultivate. Humans are social creatures, and the networks we build influence our capacity to overcome challenges. Mentorship, collaboration, accountability, they provide guidance, support, perspective. Surrounding ourselves with people who believe in possibility, who challenge complacency, who model resilience, accelerates our growth. Isolation, by contrast, magnifies obstacles. Seeking out allies, even when uncomfortable, is a strategic move against the odds. History again offers examples. The collaborations that launched companies from garages into global powerhouses, the alliances that turned social movements into seismic shifts, the partnerships that transformed personal tragedies into collective triumphs. None of these successes occurred in isolation. There is also an element of calculated risk. Those who overcome tremendous odds embrace uncertainty rather than fear it. They experiment, they test, they fail, they iterate. Risk is not recklessness. It is the willingness to step into discomfort for the chance of reward. Entrepreneurs, innovators, pioneers across time have demonstrated this principle. The most transformative advances often emerge from the willingness to act despite imperfect information, to navigate ambiguity, and to endure temporary setbacks for long-term gains. Life is a series of decisions made in conditions of uncertainty, choosing courage over comfort, persistence over ease, action over inaction, defines the difference between succumbing to odds and rising above them. Failure, then, is not the opposite of success. It is part of the journey. Each setback carries information, lessons, and opportunities for adjustment. The person who views failure as a verdict is doomed to stagnation. The person who views it as feedback harnesses it to refine strategy, to strengthen character, to deepen resolve. Consider the countless inventors, writers, scientists, leaders whose first attempts were disasters. Their perseverance transformed obstacles into stepping stones. In our own lives, reframing failure this way allows us to confront challenges with curiosity, determination, hope, rather than despair. Persistence, strategy, and social support create a synergy that makes the improbable possible. But perhaps most importantly, there is the inner narrative we carry, the stories we tell ourselves about our abilities, our potential, our limitations, shape our actions. Self-belief is not blind to optimism. It is a conscious decision to act in alignment with possibility rather than fear. It is the conviction that while the world may impose constraints, our responses are within our power. This mindset does not eliminate obstacles. It equips us to face them with clarity, courage, resourcefulness. Imagine someone with limited resources, facing skepticism from peers, working tirelessly toward a goal that seems improbable. Every step forward requires sacrifice, focus, creativity. At times, the weight of external doubt threatens to overwhelm, and yet, through small victories, learning from setbacks, persistent action, and the support of those who believe, that individual begins to tip the odds in their favor. Momentum builds. Confidence grows. The landscape that once seemed insurmountable starts to shift. What once appeared impossible now appears achievable. Not because circumstances have changed, but because the individual has transformed. The beauty of this principle is universal. Whether striving for personal mastery, building a business, healing from trauma, or championing social change, the formula remains. Understand the challenge, leverage what is within your control. Persist relentlessly, embrace risk strategically, learn from failure, cultivate supportive networks, and sustain a narrative of possibility. Each element compounds, creating an exponential effect that defies initial expectations. Over time, the improbable becomes achieved, the odds are overcome, and the story becomes one of triumph. When life presents a mountain too steep, a storm too fierce, circumstances too challenging, remember this: odds are not destiny. They are a starting point, a context, a snapshot of what appears likely. What defines outcomes is not numbers, barriers, or external environment. It is persistence, strategy, courage, belief. Every small action matters. Every decision to continue shifts the balance toward possibility. Over time, these actions compound, defying expectation. To rise against all odds is to embrace life fully, aware of its challenges, confident in your capacity to respond. Act with intention, persist in adversity, nurture inner and outer resources, amplifying your impact. Every obstacle, every setback, every doubt becomes an opportunity to demonstrate resilience, creativity, courage. You may not control the odds, but you control how you meet them. You may not predict the outcome, but you can shape the path. And in doing so, you transform what was improbable into what is possible. Rise, act, persist, adapt. Against all odds, the human spirit endures. Against all odds, it triumphs. Against all odds, it becomes the story worth telling.